Welcome, welcome. How is everyone? Good, excellent. Thanks for being here tonight. It's a great crowd and great to see some new faces as well as people we haven't seen here before. So excellent, and I'm really excited to be sharing with you a few cool strategies. We'll be talking about the mistakes that people make and how you can profit from them, right? So who's here because you want to make a lot of money through property? Yeah? Anyone come for some other reason? Anyone along? There's a few people playing games at the back. I know there's a few of those. So look, tonight, 2019, one of the things that I realise and I always know is that a lot of people have New Year's resolutions. You know, you go into Christmas going, yeah, I want to do this next year. Anyone had a few New Year's resolutions? Yeah, of course we did. And they say that 90% or 95% of New Year's resolutions by the time the middle of January comes around disappear. Right? People get stuck into the rut of things and they go back to their old habits. So tonight I really want to just highlight a few things, especially if you're new into the property game, if you're looking at doing development, if you're looking at doing subdivisions or townhouses or renos, there's a lot of things that you can learn, and the market's always changing. That's a good and a bad thing, right? The market is always changing, and like I think Ashley was talking about the elections coming up, both in Australia and next year will be probably the States as well. So there's going to be a lot of change in the world. There's Brexit, there's a lot of political talk about a lot of different things at a global scale as well as a macro scale. So just a bit of survey. Who tonight here would say they're a beginner investor? Yeah? Intermediate? Yeah? Advanced? Okay, don't want to put the hand up? Okay, that's fine. And wherever you are, you're investing in your education. That's very important. I need to make sure whatever's happening week to week, month to month, I know what's happening in the marketplace because every suburb's different. I remember I was talking to an agent on the north side. I think it was in October, November. She had 17 open for inspections. Right, 17 open for inspections, and she had an average of 2 people going through them at any one stage. Right, so that's one way that I find out how things are going is I talk to the agents, especially the dominant ones in the marketplace who are selling a lot of property or have a lot of listings, what's moving, what's the traffic through, because if you only get 2 people through, each open for inspection, you're going to sell a house. It's not going to be a bidding war very much unless there's 10, 20, 30 people going through, right? So that has since changed, and those numbers have increased dramatically since then. But it's the ebbs and flows that you've got to be aware of in the marketplace, right? So, and look, I don't want to be too negative. As you get to know me, I'm a very positive guy. I'd say in the game of property, if you don't learn to laugh, you'll cry, because a lot of things don't always go your way. But having said that, people make mistakes, and you can help them and profit from them as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit later tonight, right? So why listen to me? Right, for those of you who haven't heard me before, I've written a handful of books, including From Broke to Billionaire, Property Millionaire, Property Investing Formula. I think one of the ladies, the book before, that's one that Matt and I put together. I've done nearly 100 property transactions since 2001. Made a lot of money through the GFC. When I say, instead of making $1 million, I had a deal still make 200K. And I do deals mostly using other people's money. One of the deals I'm working on at the moment is 30-lot subdivision on the south side. Plus, I've got a child center site in Melbourne as well. So most of my deals are in Brisbane, southeast Queensland. I am based in Brisbane on the north side there, but a lot of my deals are actually in Brisbane on the south side because that's pretty much where I grew up. Yeah. So, and here's the thing: while we're talking about mistakes, do I have the ability to talk to you about mistakes? Absolutely. The more deals I do, I make mistakes all the time. Even these days, when I'm transacting, I'm able to make mistakes, but in a way that's recoverable, right? So if you are going to make mistakes in property, you want to make them such that it's not going to kill you, right? It might cost you $50 here, $100 there, $5,000 here and there. But when you get bigger and bigger, sometimes you got to spend 50 grand. I remember there was a deal. It was a 13-lot subdivision. I was happy to spend $50,000 to figure out if it was a dead set awesome deal or not, right? And I was happy to spend that up to that point, and essentially it was a calculated risk. If I was spent 50 grand, then I know, is it a sure thing or am I going to walk away, right? And that's the thing, as you get bigger and bigger into this game, sometimes, I remember when I started out, I had 3 vacant houses and I thought I was going to go bankrupt, right? At this point in time, I've had vacant houses and it doesn't really affect me anymore because my position's completely different. So yes, I have made a lot of mistakes. That's what gives me the right to talk about mistakes tonight. And my tip is learn from other people's mistakes, right? It costs a lot less and you don't have to go through the same pain. It's one thing to, I know, if you've ever lost money before, it's one thing to lose the money. The hardest thing is actually losing the confidence, Right? Would you agree? Has anyone lost money and lost confidence at the same time? Yeah. And it could have been, you could have lost a friendship as well, or a family member's relationship because over bloody just $50,000. You might go, well, $50,000 is a lot of money. Yes, it is, but sometimes it's just not worth that relationship, right? So, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So, toward the end of my presentation tonight, I'll be talking about one of my events that you'll get the chance to win a double pass to. I'll be talking about, at that event, splitters and subdivisions, finding free blocks of land, dealing with property owners directly, making passive income from simple splitter blocks, as well as money partners to fund your deal. So I'll be talking about the end and how you can win a double pass to that, right? Cool. So I just want to hear from the audience, what's a couple of mistakes that you've made just to get us grounded and get us real? So what's a couple of mistakes that you've made in the property game? If you're embarrassed about it, don't worry about it. It's not a competition. Some of my mistakes are a lot bigger than yours. So just give us a couple of mistakes that you've made in property market. Yes?
I employed the wrong professionals and believed them.
Okay, got it. You employed the wrong professionals and believe them. Sorry, Jim. Yeah, the microphone. A couple more. Yes, Robin, is it? Bought the property in the wrong zoning. Got it. Yep. Big Pete.
Chose the cheapest contractor and paid for it many times over.
Yeah, that's right. Very good, mate. You bought value, didn't you, mate? Yep, that's it. That's it. You know, you brought the right contractor when they keep you up at least 2 nights, right? And you lose 2 nights' sleep. Hey, Chris. So, the gift that keeps on giving. So, firstly, I'll go through a handful of them, about 9 of them actually, and I'll give you examples on some of them. First one is falling in love with the property, paying too much. Right? You got to get that this is a business. Property is a business, and sometimes it's very hard to separate that. Some people go into business falling in love with the people, falling in love with the property. Oh, the kitchen's great. Oh, I can put a swimming pool there. Oh, my goodness, you know, what would my parents think if I bought this? It'd be so beautiful to live in this suburb in Hendra and Ascot on the top of the hill, right? Buy and hold, all that stuff. But falling in love with the property is not the right thing to do. You got to really, if you're falling in love with anything, it's falling in love with the deal, but also knowing that, you know, it's not till death do us part. Property is a transaction. It's a choice that you make, and you want to be able to get on with it if you need to, because here's the opportunity is that some sellers over the last 6, 12 months, 18 months will have paid too much, and they'll need to get out, right? And that's the opportunity I see for you if you're in the market in the 12 months, right? I believe that now is a good time to buy or prepare to buy from motivated sellers, right? I'm out there just putting in low-ball offers, cash, low-ball offers. I did one today. They got it appraised at 360. Zoned low to medium residential means you can build units and townhouses on it. Right, it's only a small block. It's in my turf, so we're offering them 300 grand, settle in 21 days. We can actually settle in 7 days or less than 7 days, but they're overseas, so it's a bit difficult to do that. So we're trying to make it easy for them to do that, right? So you're looking for motivated sellers, right? Because people who've paid too much, some of them are willing to discount, and essentially you're buying people's pain. Some of them will be negatively geared. They were dealing with the fact that the interest payments have gone from interest to principal and interest, and if they've got 5 or 10 properties, that's a compounding effect as well. You know, I also heard something crazy. I can't remember who I heard it from. Was that domestic violence in the mortgage belt has gone up, and they're looking into it, and they're trying to figure out why has in the last, it was going down and down and down and down, and then in the last 6 months or 12 months, it's been going up. Right? They go, well, they're dealing with financial difficulty. That's what's happened. So essentially in the mortgage belt, domestic violence has gone up basically because of financial difficulty that people have gone through. Therefore, the bloody guys are beating their wives, which is crazy, right? Which is really crazy. We go, well, the economy is affecting domestic violence, which is crazy, right? But that is where the marketplace is at. When people have gone, you know what, I want to buy the house of my dreams, and then they fall pregnant, and one of them loses, can't work anymore, has a kid, and they get into financial strife. So that's the thing you got to deal with, that some people pay too much and they need to get out, right? And that's where you got to help them, right? You've got to help them get on with their journey. So make sure you don't do that. Make sure you don't fall in love with the property for all its virtues. It's still got to be profitable at the end of the day. And sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes it's hard. I know every time I walk to the Porsche dealership, I fall in love with the Porsche once again, right? The 911, but I keep going, okay, this is after-tax dollars, and yes, I get to claim the GST, but only so much, right? So at the end of the day, you know, it's got to be a good business decision. So, so number 2, not having the right education, right? Not having the right education. Robert Kiyosaki is that if you think education is expensive, try ignorance, right? The thing is, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so oftentimes beginners, they assume everything happens how they want to. They've been seeing too many TV shows, right? I remember the one where they're on the block or something, they're adding one level to the building, and they were doing it in 10 days. Right? They had, I think, 10 couples. No one had their builder's license, right? And they were going to put a level on a house in 10 days. We've got some builders here. How long would that normally take? Russell, how long do you reckon, Mr. Gray? How long would it normally take? One level? 3 months? 4 months? Yeah, after you get your approval, right? So with the running start, it'd take probably 3 to 4 months. And with a team of probably 100 people on the site climbing all over each other, they did get it done, but it's just not realistic. It's just not realistic. You got to get that TV is TV. The other mistake people make with not the right education is they aim to sell too high and expect the capital growth over time. So they're saying, oh, it's going to take 12 months for me to develop this thing. In the last 12 months, it's grown by 8%. So I can add that 8% to my feasibility, and then it actually either doesn't grow or it actually drops, which is another pain again, right? And they don't understand the tax rules. They don't have the right team around them, and therefore they make mistakes. So if they're doing a subdivision, they assume that, they assume this, assume that. They don't have to pay GST. They come to settlement. They get some pieces of paper. There's this 7% rule, which you may or may not be aware of. So there's so many things that you've got to get in place. Otherwise, you get yourself into a lot of strife, right? Last thing with not having the right education is not knowing the difference between a subdivision and a splitter block and the costs involved, right? So who's out there looking for splitter blocks at the moment, or subdivisions? Yeah, half of Brisbane? Yeah, so we're talking to, Matt and I were talking to Michael Matusik the other month, I think in November, and we're at a seminar workshop with him, and he said, everyone in Australia is a property developer, If you go to Asia, like Hong Kong or Singapore, it's very hard to even get into the market to buy one property, let alone, do subdivisions or splitters, right? So it's one of those phenomenons that, especially with the stuff that goes on TV, with the reno stuff, we're very much into the marketplace, especially with the property booms and cycles that we have, right? Unless you're in Sydney, and then you're hurting. Or Melbourne, of course. So mistake number 3 is not meeting the market when you're selling. Not meeting the market when you're selling. And this is the thing that sometimes can hurt the most, because it can affect your ego. Anyone, taken longer than 3 months to sell a property? Yeah. Okay. 6 months and longer than 6 months? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks for being honest. Yep. Cool. And part of it is realizing sometimes the market isn't willing to pay that. You might have a site that doesn't have an approval on it, and you have an approval price on it. So we had a site that we put to market, about 17,000 square metres. We put it to market, and we got a good offer, nearly double what we paid for it, but it had certain terms that we weren't quite comfortable. We'd only settled the thing in January and put it on the market in June. We got offered double what we paid for it, but the conditions just weren't right. So here's the thing, is that you've got to understand your holding costs as well, and the market changes, right, can make you a motivated seller. So we've still got that property. However, our conditions are quite different. We'll have an approval soon. We'll probably hit the market very soon once again, and it'll be much more favourable conditions, right? So one of the sayings you'll hear me say in my events is get in, get out, get paid, right? Get in, get out, get paid. Robert Kiyosaki talks about the velocity of money, right? You want to get the money working as hard as you can, right? Rather than trying to do 1 deal a year, you might do 2 deals a year, 4 deals a year, and make that money work, right? Make that money work. Right. Otherwise, you're going to be in a tug of war with the marketplace, and also you get agitated with your real estate agent trying to sell you the property as well. Right? Any real estate agents in here while we're doing confession? Come on, yeah. Sorry. Do you know the average real estate agent lasts about 12 months in the industry? Yeah, you know how? Yeah, that's right. You're shocked. So was I. I had one of the guys that works for me. He used to be a real estate agent. Right? He only lasted about 5 months before I hired him. But most real estate agents, it only takes them how long to get a ticket or a license? 7 days. Yeah, 7 days, or if you can do it online, probably faster, right? So 7 days, it's not like a 4-year degree to become a scientist or a lawyer or something like that, or a nurse, right? So you wonder why they last an average of 12 months, right? I don't know how long yours last for. Justin, he's not listening, sorry, he's having a chat. It's all good. But Justin's been around for a while, and he'll stick around for a long time yet. So, but the point in that is, you're not always, if your feasibility depends on you getting top dollar, be very, very careful. Right, thanks, buddy. Be very, very careful, because sometimes I had a client wanting to do subdivision in Boondall. They purchased it and settled it in July, and they sold the block land at the back, and they had a house at the front they were renovating. and the block of land at the back sold reasonably quickly without an agent, 325,000 or something, no com, good price in Boondall there. And then the house at the front, they were taking a little bit of time. They were in that little lull there that I was talking about with that real estate agent. And so this was, I think, the first week of December. He said to me, Nhan, what should we do? Should we wait till the last week before Christmas and then adjust the price? I said, no, mate. When you hit the 1st of December, the world changes. Right? I remember eBay putting out a report that they get the most traffic on the Monday, the 2nd of December. That's where the traffic has the most. Because basically people think about one thing only, and that's shopping. Yeah? Christmas, exactly. Right? So when you hit December, you've got to be very, very careful. So basically I said to them, look, do a minor price adjustment now, reduce the price, do it offers over, and just get the interest up. Right? Drop it by 25 grand, do it offers over, and then the phone started ringing, and within about 2 weeks, they got an offer. Right? Had about 8 groups through that coming weekend, which was, I think, the first week after the 1st of December. Otherwise, had they left it till the last week, I think pretty much the week leading up to Christmas, they had 0 people coming through the door. Yeah? So it's navigating, because if you can't navigate those times, you're into basically now, end of January, on the market, you have few people through, people are still waking up, hopefully you'll get something in the end of February, settle in April, mate, you've lost 5 months. Essentially, you've lost 5 months. Yeah, so you really got to focus on getting in, getting out, getting paid. And sometimes you just don't get those 6 words until you're holding on to something and the bank's just eating you for breakfast, right? And it's just one of those things. Sometimes you've got to learn through your own banging your head against a brick wall. Number 4, how do I know? I've done that myself, yeah? It's from my own personal experience. Falling in love with construction. Who wants to really build a house or some townhouses? Come on, be honest. Yeah, that's me too. I've got a photo later of a high-rise building I want to build, yeah? So you want to build something. You want to create something, right? They talk about build it and they will come, yeah? Build it and they will come. So I don't know where from, but they'll come, maybe from China, right? So there's a lot of apartment builders having trouble getting out of the ground at the moment, guys, because they just can't sell the stuff off the plan. The only thing I reckon is going to smash it is Queen's Wharf, but that's special. That's got, casino, it's got restaurants, it's got something really special. So I think that's going to smash it, but I think the rest of them are going to have a lot of trouble, especially with valuations and finance and postcode restrictions and things like that, right? So, and I know that for myself. I laugh at a lot of my clients go through that, and I have to slap them around the face because I went through the same thing. I built all these houses, geared myself up to the hilt, right? Wakeley, Balimba, all these exotic locations, big monster homes, right? Houses that your wife would want to live in. But then when you can't sell them and you've got 5 to 10 grand a month holding costs on each of them, it can be very stressful. Right? So I generally only build to hold. Right? I only generally build to hold. Because when you're doing a land subdivision, I treat land subdivision as one cycle and construction of a house as another cycle. So basically it's one cycle and another cycle. So if you want to do one of those cycles, that's fine. Do one of them, but don't do both of them because it just takes that extra time. And here's the thing, is that you can make money without even building a house through construction. I'll say it again. You can actually make money through construction without even you building the house. Right? I'll give you an example. This is over at Wakeley. I looked this up today in Friend Street. I did 7 lots out of 20. There, the developer did 20, and I bought 7 off him under a special arrangement where I didn't have to pay double stamp duty. And so I made money on these houses when my clients basically built those houses, and I basically got paid a commission through those houses, right? So you can actually make money through construction without ever building a house yourself. Yes, they build them. Yes, they pay for the mortgage. Yes, they pay for everything, but you can still make money of it. So a lot of the things that you get trained in by the marketplace, right, is not actually accurate. It's what their agenda is. If you go to Mirvac, you have to buy their house. If you go to Ausbuild, you have to buy their house. If you go to Pete or Stocklands, you have to buy their product so that they make all the money. Not the case, right? It's not the case. So that was number 4. Number 5 is expecting their first deal to be perfect. All right? Expecting their first deal to be perfect. Who here would say they're a bit of a perfectionist? Come on, be honest, yeah? Got to comb your hair right, if you got hair. All right? So that's the thing about property, sorry mate, is that all deals have challenges and problems that need solving. And that's why I suggest you think big and start small, because if you go for bigger deals, you'll have bigger problems. And if they're out of your scope, holding costs can kill you. A colleague of mine, I'm not going to mention names, he bought a site near the city there, Newstead, whichever, he got a DA approval for 50 apartments, right? Which is huge, big game. You know what his previous project to that was? I think it was like 12 or something, right? So he wanted to go big time. Go big time. So now he drives a Lamborghini, right, on debt. It's a big orange one. You'll see it in town, right? I reckon given another 12 months, might be on the repo market, we'll see. He'll be annoyed at me for saying that. But here the thing is that you've got to progressively increase your problem-solving abilities. You know, you don't want to grow too big too fast. Sometimes the problems, you just got to fight with money. As in, you know, if you can sustain 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month, 50 grand a month holding costs on big projects, good luck to you, right? Because sometimes the bigger projects, all it is a big hole in the ground. I don't know if you've seen the site at Albion there, the one of the mills that's finally come out of the ground. I'd bet money that they've lost money on that one there, but they've held the site for 10 years. They had to do the DA again and again and go through, you know, a GFC and rebuild it, you know, dig extra holes. So, you know, just cut your teeth and learn how to jump the hurdles and get better at solving those problems and building up a war chest of not just financial capital, but also emotional capital as well, yeah? Emotional capital as well. So that's number 5, expecting your first deal to be perfect. No deal will ever be perfect. Even if it is perfect, you probably pay too much then, yeah? I had one deal, actually, that was actually a home run, and I think Dave, one of the engineers, called me the golden boy. I said, no, mate, no. It was 11 out of 10, 3-street frontage. We got all the ticks from the council. They forgot to tell me to put in a certain road, da-da-da-da-da. I ended up, you know, doing 40% on that one there. Did it in 6 months from settlement to settlement, which is impressive. I said, no, mate, they're going to get me on the one next door. All right, and they did. So the one across the road, I had a fine for $13,000 for this, and this. So you win some, you lose some, and you just play the best that you can play, right? So don't expect anything to be perfect. It's just the way it goes. Number 6, who's ever done business with family? Yeah? So I can see the enthusiasm shaking your head there. Look, sometimes it can be a winner and sometimes it can be an absolute disaster. So for those people who had done business with family, for those who did do it, who did it work out for? Okay, and who did it not work out for? Okay, cool. So the other ones you're still trying to figure it out. So here's the thing I believe when I've done business with family, right? If you're going to do business with family, you have 2 choices. Either 1, be prepared to lose them as a friendly family member, right? Or 2, reimburse fully for any losses incurred, right? So here's the thing. You know, we've got Chinese New Year coming up. I want to be able to turn up to Chinese New Year and eat my fried rice in peace, all right? I don't want to have to bloody turn up and have a grudge over something over $50 or $1,000 or $20,000. It's just not worth it, right? It's just not worth it. So if I've ever done any deals with my family, you know, early in the day I would borrow some money from my parents, pay them back, give them a bit of extra, and just don't argue about the details because it's very easy to go, oh no, you know, this interest number is wrong and da-da-da. At the moment my dad does a bit of handyman work for me. He's getting on a bit, but he's doing a bit of mowing work and, you know, whatever he invoices me, I don't even check it. I just say, yep, here's well, just pay it, because yeah, I can't get him, I don't want him to do it for free, otherwise there would be resentment there, and it's very easy just to, you know, wean off your parents, right? So, because essentially, family, you know, husbands, wives, family, you know, you can't choose. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family, right? So, whether it's in-laws, that includes in-laws as well. So, if anyone's listening to this audio, you never know, my in-laws might end up hearing this. Mistake number 7: believing what the agent says. Believing what the agent says. Who's heard some porcupines that agents have told them? Yeah, absolutely. What can you remember one that they've told you, Tim? No, off the top of your head. Anyone remember anything that an agent's porcupines have told you? No? Put a high-rise building on it? Oh, it'll be easy. Yeah. That'll be an easy commission for them. It's a splitter block. And what was it? That wasn't a splitter block. Fail. Right? Fail. Like I said, it only took them a week to get the degree of the piece of paper, right? And they've got a 12-month cooling-off period, so to speak. So the thing is, agents want their commission now. Right? Agents want their commission now, and I'm not bagging agents just in general. It's just the industry that people come and people go. Right? People come, people go. Ignorant agents can be a godsend or a curse. Right? If you believe them, they can be a lot of trouble. But also, if they're ignorant enough to not know what they're talking about, and you know better, actually, with fact, stuff that the town planner says is true, then that can make you a lot of money. Yeah, I've done that before as well. Do your own research and get educated, right? This is a site I bought a couple of years ago, 562 square metres, zone LMR3, which means that I could build townhouses or units up to 3 levels. The agent, without holding back, said, you cannot do anything. You don't know what you're doing. I said, thank you, right? Thank you so much. Because what that proved to me was that I could go and buy other sites in the suburb, and she wouldn't argue with me about what I could do for the price that I'd pay for them, right? So in the end, I bought it directly off the owner. I have since bought a property off her to kind of make amends, but this big red arrow here points to this little block of land there, is actually something that I was able to subdivide off, right? It took me 10 days. 10 days. What can you do in 10 days? Not much, right? You can barely have a proper holiday in 10 days, yeah? Let alone get a development approval through. So that's what's called a risk smart approval. We're talking about velocity, getting in, getting out, getting paid. A little bit later, Peter Bowman's going to tell you about a deal which he made, I think, 100K on using my strategies. But, you know, it's about getting in, getting out, getting paid. So I was able to keep the house and cut the block off on the side there. We call it a free block of land. That's the existing house, right? And if you go back to that photo, right, that's the existing house. That's the red dots is where the yellow fence is, right, half built. And then that's the block of land I cut off, and then what the lady built on 184 square metres. Pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy. Right, she paid me $175,000 for it. Don't know if I've got the numbers. No, I don't. So I'll give you rough numbers. I bought the whole site for $300,000, neat. I sold the house, slightly renovated, for $305,000. I sold the land for $175,000. Yeah, so you do the maths there. So, and then the lady built this little house. She said it was a dream home. Dream home, 35 square metres. She said, I've just come back from Africa. She worked with charities. Just come back from Africa. It's exactly what I'm looking for. I said, no worries, here's the contract. All right, so she was happy as Larry. You know, she's painted this thing on the wall. It's just beautiful. It is, look, a bit out of character, but who cares? She's happy. At the end of the day, she's happy. You know, you don't have to be one of those developers who sells something and then rips people off. You know, at the end of the day, she's a happy camper. I've actually introduced her to my two daughters, my wife. We drove past, she was there, said, hey, Katie, can we come have a look? Can I show my girls? In there, had a look. Oh, mate, she's the happiest person because she was able to pay off the debt very, very quickly. She doesn't want to have a mortgage. She wants just to enjoy life and spend money, make money, right? So number 8, we're nearly there, right? Quitting work too early. Who wants to quit their job? Yeah, now we're talking. So, you know, I've had enough of my boss, so I want out. I hear that very often. I heard that today on the phone and heard that on Friday from one of my clients here. Oh, I've had enough. You know, get me out of here, right? It's like, you know, I'm a property developer. Get me out of here. It's like I'm a celebrity, right? So I hate my job. Get me out of here. So, but look, without sufficient skill, momentum, or cash, you can be, you know, when you quit your job, if you haven't got other sources of income coming in or enough cash flow in the background, you can become stressed and make poor decisions. I've seen this happen before. I know a mate of mine back in early 2000s did this. He couldn't get his SHIT together, and then he had to go back and get a job, right? And that's a bit of a fail, right? It's a bit of a problem there. So I suggest you focus your attention on the red car and what's going to happen in the next 5 seconds should that car go on the bridge. So legendary fail, right? And here's the thing, is that I can see these things from afar. So if someone says something, I can see 6 to 12 months, I can see the future. Not because I'm so smart, because I've seen it happen again and again and again before. Just like you look at this photo, know there's trouble coming, right? You know there's just trouble coming, and I've seen too many people quit their job too early, only to be embarrassed, put their tail between their legs and go back to work. It is embarrassing, right? Worst case scenario, but it is embarrassing. Make sure you get enough deals in the pipeline before you do that. Number 9, thinking bigger is better, right? Thinking bigger is better. Here's the thing you got to understand right now, is the market is unforgiving. It is unforgiving. It doesn't matter who you are, how much cash you got, how much property you got, who you are. If you're a billionaire, the market does not care. It is unforgiving. It's like, it's like a cyclone. Right? We're up at Airlie Beach early in the year, health retreat, happiness, health and wealth retreat with my diamond clients there, and then we were getting the residues of Cyclone Penny, right? And we went up there and we saw the residues of Cyclone Debbie back in 2011 or 2015, 16, something like that, what it did to the resorts. I turned up and looked at the resorts. I think it was South Mole Island. It was like a crack den. All the glass were broken, you know, the corrugated iron all hung up in the air. It was crazy, right? And this is, you know, top grade construction, so to speak, but, you know, it wasn't cyclone grade. And the thing about the market is just like cyclones, just like the weather. It's just like 2011 flood, right? If you're in its wrath, in its way, it will show you its wrath, right? And here's the thing, is that things do change overnight. And this is a good news and bad news for some of you, right? I'm actually really excited about the next 12 to 24 months, about the opportunity it brings. For some of you, you'll be scared, right? And if you're scared and fearful, That's okay. That's the natural response about the changes. If you're not sure what the market's doing, interest rates could go up. In fact, some of the banks are raising interest rates already. Changing legislation, changing government. Right? Ashley was talking about that before. They're talking about taking away negative gearing. Right? Is it a possibility? I don't really think so, but could have happened maybe. Competition, price changes, changing lending rules. The Royal Commission this week's going to unroll its full report, which is going to have some blood in the streets there. Valuations, banks are hammering the valuers on the valuation. So if you're buying apartments in the city, for example, they're currently being valued 10% under. And with the postcode restriction, you've got to put in 30, 40, 50% deposits. Yeah. So valuations are heavy as well. Rising construction costs, they've been going up for 5, 10, 15% some years. So you just got to be mindful of that. You might sign a contract now, but in 6 to 12 months' time, there could be changes. So so this is a building that I've fallen in love with, or one of the many buildings. This is in Bouquet Street in South Brisbane there. One of my mates is the senior project manager in that. The quick story about thinking bigger is better is they finished 200 apartments, got paid, and then they were finishing off 400 apartments on Merivale. Right? 400 apartments. Good for the ego, right? You go to a barbecue, yeah, I'm doing 400 apartments. You know what? They had 400 apartments, sold all of them other than 40. And the last 40, they couldn't sell for a year. They sold them, and then they crashed. And they sold them, and they crashed. Sold them for the crash. And if you know anything about developers, it's usually the last 20%, 15% is where the profit is. Right? So all these apartments that are sitting there, right, vacant, not doing anything, maybe they're being rented, they just can't sell them. So thanks, Tim. So in summary, what are the mistakes that people make? One is falling in love with property, not having the right education, expecting your first deal to be perfect, falling in love with construction, not meeting the market when selling, doing business with family, believing what the agent tells you, quitting your job too early, and then thinking bigger is better. So what I'd like you to do, guys, if you just turn to the person or people and just share with them, out of those 9, which ones did you learn from, what are you taking away from tonight so far? Just give you a minute or so to do that, and go.